In the past, I have received some hate for my criticism of the DC movieverse, or what little there is of it at the moment. Basically, I thought Man of Steel was an incredibly boring, stupid film, largely because it was an incredibly boring, stupid film. And fanboys, who are in every way morons, started to lash out at me in particularly stupid ways. But that stupidity aside, Man of Steel is simply a dull film. Now, I don't read comics. I used to, maybe a little tiny bit when I was younger, but I'm just not versed on comics. I don't have any particular loyalty to Marvel or any of its characters, or any particular hatred for DC or any of its characters. I am not that into comics, but I do like movies, and Man of Steel is a bad movie. It just is. So, as a launching point for the expanded DC movie universe, it doesn't fill me with excitement. And the concept of doing, as I've said in previous videos, the concept of doing Batman vs Superman isn't cool enough to make me overlook all of the stupid things that they've already done. If you're a fanboy who does get excited at just the mere mention of Batman, then you're pathetic, but that's fine. You enjoy yourself. I will wait and see if the movie's going to be good. I'm happy to go and see it and talk about it later, but it's not going in a great direction for me so far. Anyway, I'd like to talk about Antman. Antman just... Now, I'm slightly familiar with the Marvel Universe in the sense that I used to watch a lot of cartoons, particularly Spider-Man, and I did read some comics, but I'm not really familiar with Ant-Man at all, outside of what I've read about since Edgar Wright was making the movie, or word of that came out. And I've learnt bits and pieces here and there, and I'm aware of him appearing in various incarnations in the cartoons. But he's a relatively obscure character. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy was initially called a risky move because no one knew what Guardians of the Galaxy was outside of a small select fan group. But it still sounded cool. Guardians of the Galaxy was this kind of space opera sort of coolness to it. Ant-Man doesn't really have that. Ant-Man doesn't quite, I don't know, just doesn't quite work in my head. You see, the issue I have here is that trying to imagine an Ant-Man movie, I just kind of can't. I just can't work out how that would be done. I can see how Batman vs Superman would be done, and it could be brilliant, it could be amazing. But Ant-Man I just can't quite fathom out. However, Edgar Wright was on board to direct. Fantastic. As any good British nerd, I love Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright can almost do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. I'm not aware of any time that he's really fucked up. Haven't seen his first film. I'm not sure how you would go about seeing his first film, because it's pretty hard to find. I have seen Asylum, which is the first TV show he did. I think it's the first TV show he did, and I actually kind of liked it. It's not brilliant. There's a good reason that it's not repeated on TV anymore. But it's not awful. There were worse things on television. There's worse comedy on television now than Asylum. But yeah, Edgar Wright, that was enough to excite me. Ant-Man, I'm on board. I'm there. As many people were. But then Edgar Wright pulled out. Now I get why Edgar Wright dropped out, or why he was politely asked to leave, whatever the circumstances exactly were. Marvel have built up their movieverse now much more than they, in a way that perhaps they hadn't originally thought would work back when Edgar Wright had originally signed on. And they've got their own design and style that they want to stick with. They want to keep a consistency between the films. And Edgar Wright is very much Edgar Wright. He makes Edgar Wright movies. He's got this quite unique style, or quite flamboyant and crazy style. And I can see why they wouldn't want that to be mixed into the Marvel universe. I get it. I get why that wouldn't work. But he was a big part of what was exciting me about films. And I again, just look on the internet. I'm not alone here. Everyone's a little bit like, oh, not too sure. Then the Ant-Man trailer came out just the other day, and it didn't... Fact is, it's just not that good. It's not that exciting or interesting. It's not really doing... I don't know. It's just not really doing anything. It's not got that buzz. Let's say, for example, the Age of Ultron trailer Yeah, we're invested in the universe already, but still, that's still a really, really good trailer, really cool looking trailer, for a superhero film. And somehow Ant-Man just hasn't got that energy, got that excitement, got that, just doesn't have that. And no one really cares about Ant-Man. I feel like no one is like biting for an Ant-Man movie. I am far more eager to see Batman fighting Superman at this point than I am to see Ant-Man doing anything. And the other thing is, with Edgar Wright dropping out, it's delayed the movie, and therefore Ant-Man's no longer going to be feeding into the Age of Ultron. And so it's lost its bigger picture, it's lost its link to the rest of the Avengers universe. And so now it kind of, even more so, it feels unnecessary now. If when it was feeding into Ultron, then you get it, yeah, that's cool. But now it's just kind of, well, it's not doing that anymore. They've muddled through another way, and now now it's just its own thing, and it kind of, it does kind of feel like it doesn't need to be there. They're kind of tacking it on because they'd already started planning it. They'd already, written the script, I guess, before Edgar Wright dropped out. They had the script and they're like, well, we'll do it anyway, or we'll rework it and do it anyway. And I don't know, it's perhaps their first questionable decision. Movie could still be great, could still be, could be the best Marvel movie made thus far, for all we know. But yeah, it's problem here, of course, is that now we're invested in the Marvel universe, and Marvel have made it very clear that their films are all tightly tied together, and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show is obviously feeding into everything now. If anyone watches that, that's eventually going to be, we can see where that's going to pay off now. I won't say any spoilers, but you can see where that's going. And it's quite clear that if you don't see Ant-Man, there's a good chance you're going to miss something, or it's going to be important later. The character's going to reappear later, and all these other things. And it's kind of like, well, I'm in the Marvel universe now, I kind of have to see it, or I can't not see it. I think Marvel would have to very consistently fuck up to lose their fans at this point. They'd have to make several bad films in a row, and they've not always hit a home run. Iron Man 2 isn't that great. I kind of like it, but it's not great. Thor 2 doesn't quite hold together, but it's still a good film. But and I kind of feel it's quite easy to forget that the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk movie happened. But yeah, Ant-Man feels like, I don't know, Ant-Man feels in advance. It's the first time in advance that I've thought, this doesn't seem like a good idea. It's in the same way that I feel that Batman vs Superman doesn't feel like a good idea. On the positive side of DC though, what does sound like a really good idea is the Suicide Squad. I'm actually really excited about that. The idea is cool. The cast was pretty cool as well, and just the concept of it is cool. What I'm worried about is if the Suicide Squad is feeding into. This is pretty obscure. I mean, the characters aren't obscure. Obviously, a lot of people know the characters, especially some from the extended Batman universe. Thanks to the Batman games, a lot of people know loads about the Batman universe now. But the concept of the actual Suicide Squad idea itself is kind of obscure for DC. A lot of people, non-comic book fans, will have only heard about it basically from the announcement of the movie. They've been like, "What the hell is this?" The way that might go wrong though is if it's going to feed into the DC movie universe, it's going to be too serious. It's such a silly idea that it needs to be silly. It needs to be this sort of fucked up A-Team movie. Like how ridiculous the A-Team movie was. And it kind of seems a bit like they're going to go back into the serious vein that Man of Steel went in, and I just don't think that's going to work. But nonetheless, yeah, no, Suicide Squad's got me excited, more excited than Ant-Man has. I don't know if that's me slowly switching to the DC camp. Depends how good Batman vs Superman really is. But yeah, that's just the current signals, and I don't think I'm alone in this. But anyway, that's where I'm standing on that for now. I'm sure there'll be more on that. I believe Ultron is going to be the next film out, isn't it, of the comic book movies, unless I've gone completely off of my head. But yeah, no, definitely talking about that more as it approaches, and we'll review it when it comes out. That's that for now. The end.